Vice presidential candidates Tim Kaine and Mike Pence are preparing for their only debate happening later tonight. Now, it comes after a feisty presidential debate last week between Trump and Clinton. Dr. Ben Carson joins us live from West Palm Beach, Florida this morning with more insight into the GOP campaign and what we might expect in tonight's debate. Good morning, Dr. Carson.
Good morning.
So what can we expect from the
I'm
debate
thinking
tonight?
that I think that it's going to be a very interesting debate because with the two presidential candidates, they're sort of bigger than life individuals with a lot of controversy swirling around their lives, and people tend to be more interested in their personalities than they are in the issues. In the case of the vice presidential candidates, no one even knows who they are, so they actually will be listening to the issues and have an opportunity to see that the philosophies that are driving these two campaigns are diametrically opposed. I think most people don't actually realize that. This will be an opportunity to see which direction they're going in.
Now, one of the major issues right now facing Donald Trump are those tax returns, some that were released saying he hasn't paid in 2 decades. How do you think this is impacting his campaign?
I seriously doubt that that's going to have much of an impact. You know, these tax rules and regulations have been in place for decades. And most people who know about business know that people who have big losses can write those off over the next several years or even from some of the previous years. I'm not saying that that's a good system. When I was running, I advocated a flat tax with the removal of all deductions and loopholes, because what we really need is something that is completely fair. And I think this situation kind of highlights the fact that we don't have a level playing field when it comes to taxation in this country.
Okay, now recently Trump has been under fire for some comments he made actually yesterday about veterans with PTSD, that they can't handle it. Do you think, he's had a lot of veteran support, but do you think this is kind of pushing back a little bit?
I don't think so. I think as we're getting closer to the election, more and more people are starting to recognize that this is a monumental election. People know that they're not satisfied with the way things have been under both Democrat and Republican rule, and that we have an opportunity to switch directions. So the real question will be, do we want to continue with the status quo, or do we want to move in a different direction? I think people are understanding that, and they understand that a lot of these other things are just distractions.
Recently, Donald Trump was in Detroit with you, hoping to get more of the African-American vote. Do you think more African-Americans are now getting behind Trump, more minority votes, including Latinos?
I think that clearly there will be more than there traditionally have been. I'm very glad to see the process of him reaching out. I hope that in the future both parties will court all segments of our society and not just write populations off, because there are some huge issues, particularly in our inner cities, that will affect the vitality of the entire nation.
Also, another group that has been, people have been trying to get behind is millennials. How do you think Trump is doing with the millennial vote?
Probably better than most people expect, because the millennials who are engaged tend not to be one-issue voters. They tend to look at the big picture, and they recognize that their future is in great jeopardy, particularly as we continue to accumulate debt. No pinnacle nation has ever survived the kind of debt that we are creating, and we won't survive it either. They know that, so there has to be a change in philosophy if we're going to be successful in the future.
Well, recently Bill Clinton made a stop in the Mid-Michigan area yesterday. Can we expect Trump or any of his surrogates to make their way back here?
I expect so. I was very glad to see that them coming to Flint, talking about some of the issues there, because I think the water issue there, for instance, has broad applicability to the entire nation. The infrastructure problems that are going on in our country have been neglected. We keep kicking that can down the road. Obviously, there's going to be major consequences to that if we don't deal with it proactively.
All right, Dr. Ben Carson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's turn things now over to Ahmed in the weather department.
Pleasure.
All right.